Good morning. Welcome to Funky Rainbow. I wonder if I should say fatherly Saturday morning. Well, at least it's a bazaar full of books on appas, abbas, abboos, achans, and a whole bunch of, dads in Indian children's books. I can see so many friends up there on our chat already. Joanne Saldana saying, "Good morning, Funkies. Good to be back here on a Saturday morning. Good to see you here on a Saturday morning again, Joanne Saldana. And because you're here and live, do look behind us. We have finally managed to put up that wonderful gift you sent us, or should I use the new word that I learned from you? We've managed to style our shelves to include the fabulous bunting of a Funky Rainbow, the patchwork bunting of Funky Rainbow that you shared and sent with us. And look how much more color it adds to our lives and shelves. Thank you for that wonderful gift, Joanne Saldana. Good morning, Tam. Lovely to see you here. And good morning, Muttama. It is so wonderful that, we are, of course, I cannot wait to see Daddy Boy making his debut. Of course, so wonderfully said. I'm, also saying a big good morning to all our friends who've joined us on Instagram. It's a delight to present a bazaar full of books on fathers. It's absolutely a delight to do bazaars week after week because of how much all of you are supporting us and cheering us on from the sidelines. And this one, to celebrate Father's Day, which is tomorrow, we have a clutch of, Indian children's and young adult books on featuring fathers of all shapes, sizes, colors, and hues. I can see Avyukt and Ameya Nair and Divya Menon saying, "Good morning, the bunting looks beautiful." Yes, Joanne Saldana teaching us the subtle styling tips and tricks that we need to make our bazaar more beautiful. I can see Prerna Agarwal saying, "Couldn't miss the bazaar. Delighted to be here. So delighted to see you." For our friends on Instagram, we do the show across 2 hours, but we have a half-hour guest segment, which we're not able to screen on Instagram typically. However, today, today that screening can continue because the guests of the day are in-house, and you can continue to watch, the whole show through on Instagram itself. Typically, because the guest joins in from somewhere else, we're not able to stream on Instagram, and hence ask you to go to our Facebook page or YouTube channel to view the conversation or the interviews that we have with the guest. But today we have a lovely daddy and son duo, in-house daddy and son duo, coming up to tell us a fabulous daddy story like no other. As always, all the books that we're going to recommend and the ones that we're not able to recommend up on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Please click on the tab that says Bazaar, and the drop-down menu, the first header on the drop-down menu will be Father's Day. All the books that we're going to recommend and the ones that we're not able to recommend up there in the bazaar. Do order them from us if you enjoy our recommendations. With that, I'm going to get on to one of the most, telling you all about one of the most exciting things that happened to Team Funky Rainbow last week. Just this little traveling children's bookshop at one corner of Bangalore got invited by the Bologna Children's Book Fair to, present their story, to the world, along with 6 other independent children's bookstores. Yes, that's absolutely right. Team Funky Rainbow was invited by the Bologna Children's Book fair, no less. And, it's considered the holy grail of everything in the children's literature world. And I don't know how they found us. We're still trying to uncover that mystery. But they invited us along with 6 other independent children's bookstores, the founders of 6 other children's independent bookstores, to talk about what we have done to get ourselves through this very, very challenging time, the pandemic, how we've continued to reach children's books here, there, everywhere, despite the pandemic. And for us, what they picked off Funky Rainbow's, various initiatives was, of course, the book bazaar. So you can imagine how thrilled we are. Joanne Saldana saying, this is so exciting. Can we watch a recording of it? Yes, definitely. It is up on our WhatsApp, messages, and, the recording also up on our Facebook page. I think it's up on the Facebook page, but I'm going to check if that's there or not. The WhatsApp message that we sent to all of you has a link which you can click and go back and watch the conversation with 6 other independent, children's bookstores. And it was just so lovely. I mean, the thing of, the opportunity to interact with booksellers from Egypt, from the Czech Republic, from Japan, from Italy, from the United States. It was just simply so lovely to see that, that our initiative to sustain ourselves through the lockdown and continue to reach books to children, here, there, everywhere, was picked up by the Bologna Children's Book Fair. So yes, a big shout out. I can see so many congratulatory messages coming up. Ritvika saying Bologna, yay. Joanne saying, this is so exciting. Ritvika saying World Kidlit in translation did feature Funky Rainbow on their blog. Must have been from there. Oh, how delightful. One part of the mystery perhaps unraveled. We have written to them asking us where they found, information about Funky Rainbow from. But that's the power of books. They go here, there, everywhere, irrespective of whether we do anything specifically to take them to some place or not. I can say, Tamanna saying, yay, are we going to make a bazaar out of this? We would be delighted to make a bazaar out of this and will sometime soon. Prerna Agarwal saying, how exciting. And Sunila Kulkarni Gupta saying, this was brilliant. The Bologna Book Fair. Heard it. I'm so glad that you watched. It is just, I mean, it's such a good testimony to one belief that ties Team Funky Rainbow together. Books have no borders. Really, books have no borders. And the fact that bookstores from India with initiatives. In fact, we were the only independent bookstore to be picked from India. And the fact that we can present our story to the world and one day hopefully take our books there as well, our beautiful Indian children's books there, gives us so much to look forward to in what we assume is probably going to be yet another challenging year for all independent bookstores everywhere. But yes, thank you so much for all that support. And I can see we have some assistants volunteering us. They're saying, so cool. I'm proud to lug your tubs around. We absolutely need that help, Tamanna. And we're going to make sure that you don't just lug tubs around. You also do recommendations for us. Able assistant, to recommend, and even far better persuader of all adults than I will ever be. That's Muttama's daughter, Tamanna, for you. I can see Preeti Ramchandran saying, way to go, Vidya and Team Funky Rainbow. Such a proud moment. It really was a proud moment. And we have all of you to thank, because that initiative that they picked was the bazaar. And the reason the bazaar is so buzzy is because of all of you. With that announcement, of course, we, say thank you to all of you. And we want to say, please keep supporting us. Please keep watching the bazaar. And we'll get started with our theme of the day, fathers. I mean, we all, I loved what Muttama said, just a couple of days ago when we decided that this was going to be the theme of our bazaar. She said, Vidya, it's all our old men, whether it's Muttama's dad or Sham's father or my father, from up above, really making these journeys possible for us. So a big, big, thank you going out to all those old men looking on, from above, and really being guiding lights in more ways than one. So big thank yous to our fathers. And we believe they must be holding up poison of their choice, and saying cheers, and perhaps creating more beautiful roads for us to travel on. I wanted to ask all of you, the minute we said Father's Day, I was thinking of the wonderful fathers in children's books or adult books that I had sort of, that I have enjoyed reading across all these years. And some names that came to mind, I mean, whether they're children's books, most of them are children's books. To Kill a Mockingbird, whether it counts as a children's book, but I do know many young adults who've read it and been deeply influenced by it. And I know one of them, Tamanna, is watching us. Atticus Finch, what a father. Patient, gentle, always ready with wise advice, and so empathetic, really. Mr. Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. I mean, I know he was, people always feel quite sorry that he was married to, that he had a silly wife, but I do think he was quite silly himself in his own way. I mean, allowing his daughters to, not sort of guiding his daughters in the right kind of way, and, letting them do all kinds of things, basically. But when it came to Lizzie, his favorite daughter, how good and sensible was his advice. I also remember Mr. Quimby from the Ramona Quimby series, and how much he loved Ramona and her siblings, when they were good, and even when they were exactly the opposite of those things. I don't know, you should share the names of some wonderful fathers that you've met in children's literature, or in books for adults as well. Geppetto from the Pinocchio story came to mind. I do love Geppetto, the lonely woodcarver who received a magical block of wood, and without, he shaped a doll out of it, I mean, like a wooden toy out of it, who then went on to become his own son, Pinocchio. And of course, Arthur Weasley. I mean, we know Ron Weasley's father, how well he, adopted, how well he loved Hermione and Harry as his own children. Such wonderful fathers in children's books. And I know I can see so many names coming up. Sunila Kulkarni saying, Lewis Carroll, Preeti Ramchandran saying, Swami's father in Malgudi days. What a delightful man, really, Preeti. And I know Sham's showing up a beautiful book by Michael Morpurgo, which we don't have in our collection. We don't have in stock at the moment, but this brilliant book called My Father is a Polar Bear. What a beautiful story of a father's love for his child, and a child's love for his father in that wonderful book, My Father is a Polar Bear. When, things resume, our distribution networks are still not restored perfectly. I mean, I know things have opened up, but books have still not reached us, not been, no new books coming to us in 3 months almost now. But when that network restores, we'll certainly stock copies of My Father is a Polar Bear. But I'm going to get started with the thing that we love to do most, recommend Indian children's books. And I can see Joanne Saldana, and I'm always so delighted when she agrees with some of our choices, knowing what a fabulous reader of children's books she is, saying absolutely endearing, My Father is a Polar Bear, such a precious book. Absolutely, Joanne. But we are back to recommending what we love to do most, Indian children's books, Indian children's and young adult books. And I'm going to start my session with a lovely, lovely book about fathers and the sons. This one called The Little Big Man, written by our poet laureate Rabindranath Tagore and so spectacularly illustrated by Rajiv Aip. I can see so many more comments. I think Rupa Baliga saying, Papa, in Papa, please get the moon for me by Eric Carl. How lovely is that suggestion? And I think it's Avyuk saying there's another father in Tinkle Comics who has 4 daughters, Ina, Meena, Maina, Mo. He's quite a funny dad. Oh my gosh, I've got to discover that dad, Avyuk. Ruskin Bond's writings on his father, beautiful ones. We have them in our collection, Divya Purandar. And Joanne saying, Ayyo, Shy is coming with all your praise. No need to be shy at all. You are indeed a super curator of books, Joanne Saldana. But yes, this wonderful one, The Little Big Man by Rabindranath Tagore. And I do want to show you that we have this autographed copy, by Rajiv Aip, the wonderfully talented illustrator who won the Big Little Book Award last year for his illustrative work. Sham, the dad in the office, saying, for a moment I was shocked. I thought we indeed had the autograph of Rabindranath Tagore. Well, Sham, no books stay on Funky Rainbow's shelves for that long, really. But what is this beautiful book all about? The Little Big Man. It's all about what it is like for a child to wear his father's shoes. And this lovely, and just look at this illustration. Look at these illustrations. I mean, so much warmth, so much love, so much character. I really love the Little Big Man on this page, standing so coolly and saying, I'm small because I'm a little child. I shall be big when I'm as old as my father. My teacher will come and say, it's late, bring your slate and your books, and I shall tell him, do you not know I'm as big as my father, and I must not have lessons anymore? Oh my God, what a charming little book that goes into the minds of young children who want to grow up and be like their father. Tagore's magic brought alive by the words and by Rajiv Aip's illustrations. I can see that Rupa Baliga saying The Little Big Man is such a wonderful book and the illustrations are so adorable. Ritvika Roy bringing up Richa Jha's Machher Jhol, of course, such a beautiful father-son picture book. We do have it in our BUZZAAR collection, but we don't have copies of the book in stock. And I'm hoping Richa will be able to send them to Machher Jhol to us very soon. In fact, there are 2 books from her collection, Gigi and Daddy and Machher Jhol, that we don't have in stock at the moment. A great, testimonial to the fact that Pickle Yolk's books just fly off our shelves. This one published by Katha, priced at 120 rupees. And like I said, all the books up in our BUZZAAR. Go to our website, www.funkyrainbow.com, click on the tab that says BUZZAAR. The first header, under that will be Father's Day. Do click on that to find these and other books that we may not be able to talk about in the course of the BUZZAAR. There is a 10% discount on the books, so please do apply the discount voucher when you want to pick it up. Our next recommendation from an author whom we're very fond of at Funky Rainbow, Just Like Papa by Nandita Dekuna, illustrated by Shreya Sen. It's also such a lovely story about a young girl, Genius G, as she's called, who dreams of becoming as famous and as popular as her artist father. So what does Genius G do? She loves pottering around her father's studio. And, her father, who's really well known for drawing and painting hands, is obviously a very, very popular artist. So G, sitting around at her father's studio and doing all kinds of fun things. One birthday, her father, and of course, G dreaming of wanting to be just like Papa. One birthday, her father buys her a whole lot of paints and canvas. And I'm going to show you that picture. But when she picks up her brush and when she is looking at the blank canvas, her mind goes as blank as the canvas in front of her. And what happens to G afterwards? She gets a bit angry. She looks very angry outside. She behaves angrily outside, feels very small inside, but help is at hand. What a charming, touching, whimsical story that really reminds us that it's very, very important to follow our hearts. And I know every one of you watching us will agree and say there's nothing quite as wonderful as finding your dreams and going after them and following your heart and your dreams. This one priced at 199 rupees. We would recommend it for 4+year-olds. The Little Big Man, we would recommend, even for 3+year-olds, especially if you're reading it to your children. And I really hope there are some dads and children watching us today. Often it's the mums. And if you mums, what I would suggest you do is put some of these books into the hands of the daddies and ask them to read some of these with their children. My next recommendation, and I can see Tamana saying, this is one of the most relatable things ever. Absolutely, isn't it? Next book, absolutely a charming one on our shelves, called My Dad at the Zoo, written and illustrated by Coralie Saudo and Chris D. Giacomo. And the thing is, I realize and I understand that this one was a much awaited sequel to another one that is called My Dad is Big and Strong. I'm afraid we don't have My Dad is Big and Strong. I'm not sure the rights to that book have been acquired by any of the publishers here, but fortunately for us, Tota Books getting this one, My Dad at the Zoo, as I said, written and illustrated by Coralie Saudo and Chris Di Giacomo, and this one translated from the French by Renuka George. What a quirky book this really is. It's about a dad who's waiting for the Sunday to come, because is he going to spend his time twiddling his thumbs at home? Absolutely not. Him and his child are decided they are going to go to the zoo. Him and his son absolutely off to the zoo. And what happens when they get to the zoo? This is such a fantastic role reversal sort of book, with the daddy behaving exactly like children would. At the ticket counter, the son says, things aren't quite as funny. Dad stomps his feet and prances around and all over the place, jumping up and down. And the longer the queue, the more ideas he comes up with to get to the front of the line. For instance, he shouts, I'm in a hurry. I need to go wee-wee. Let me in, really. So you can see this dad. And as the marvelously illustrated picture book progresses, the dad up to all kinds of antics that the son is talking about so beautifully. I can see some more wonderful suggestions. Preeti Ramchandran saying, Rupa Ram in The Clever Tailor, very, very creative dad indeed, who converts a safa into so many pieces of clothing for different people in the family. And I can see Munmun Mitra Das saying, good morning to us. This wonderful book we would recommend for 4+year-olds. My Dad at published by Tota Books, priced at 395 rupees. I can see love this suggestion, Joanne Saldana. I'm wondering which suggestion you're referring to. Maybe the one that I made while talking about My Dad at the Zoo. But yes, it is absolutely a lovely, lovely book with a father in the spotlight. My next book this morning is Satya's Boat, which is again, the first page of the book, and I revisited this book after many, many months. And this first spread, Satya's Boat, written by Saraswati Nandini Majumdar and with pictures by Aisha Sadar, just took my breath away. The story is set on the ghats of Varanasi, and little Satya lives by the Ganga in Banaras. and longs to row her own boat in the waters of that magnificent river, just like her father. But when she asks her father if she can do it, if she can actually, row a boat, he says, and Satya truly loves her father's lovely green and blue rowboat. When she asks her father, he says, "You're not old enough or strong enough just yet." But the spirited girl, what does she do? Because she can't row a boat, she finds a piece of paper and she makes a lovely boat with oars out of that paper. And really, just look at some of these spectacular double page spreads. Just bringing alive the beauty of the Ganga on the the banks of the Ganges in Banaras so beautifully. Now, what happens when she makes that boat? The boat suddenly and magically comes alive one night. Oh, what a beautiful story this is. And I think, besides capturing the hustle and bustle of Banaras, also a wonderful one that showcases a father-daughter bond where both learn life lessons from each other. We'd recommend Satya's boat, and I can see so many people saying, the art is phenomenal. Tamanna says, Rupa Baliga says, that spread is gorgeous. And Sunila Kulkarni saying, so gorgeous, this illustration. Such a beautiful story that we ourselves revisited only, after a couple of months. And this is the pleasure of the bazaar, rediscovering books through new eyes, really. This one published by Tulika, priced at 175 rupees. We would recommend it for 6+-year-olds. My next recommendation, an equally nice and long book like this one called On the Metro, written by Neha Singh and illustrated by Rai. I just love the size of this fantastic book from Pratham, almost giving you the feel of what it is like to get into the metro. So in the story, there's Zeba and her Abbu who are off to see the Qutub Minar. They decide they're going to go to visit the Qutub Minar. And what are they going to do? How are they going to go? They are getting on the metro. They're hopping onto the metro. And you do too. You hop onto the metro with them and ride with them. Looking at different sites through their eyes, and the beautiful relationship between Zeba and her Abbu. Of course, there is an Ammi in the picture as well, but I'm not going to tell you what a delightful surprise ending there is to this fantastic story. You've got to get on this metro to find out what happens in this charming picture book. Written by Neha Singh and illustrated by Rai, published by Pratham, priced at 200 rupees. Really, absolutely worth getting on this ride for sure to discover the sights and sounds of Delhi and the lovely banter between Zeba and her Abbu, and the different people who are on the metro. In fact, there's a lovely spread, and I'm going to show that one to you. A lovely spread with so many people jostling around in the metro really makes me want to get on the metro right away and go somewhere. This one priced at 200 rupees, published by Pratham. Our next set of recommendations, and maybe I should say hello to a clutch of people, but I'll finish recommending these books and then do my round of hellos. I think it's also World Music Day. I mean, we keep looking for so many links to days these days that I found something popping up on my computer saying it's World Music Day, maybe tomorrow, or, I'm not sure exactly when that World Music Day is. But our next set of books, and there are two of them, bringing daddies and music together so wonderfully well. I'm going to show you this one, which is brand new on Funky Rainbow's shelf. Again, Nandita Dukuna, and I'm really thinking she loves writing stories about fathers. This one called The Magic in My Fingers, written by Nandita Dacuna. And I can see Rupa Baliga telling me it's on Monday. Yes, it just popped up on my computer before we went up on the live stream. Thank you so much for telling me that Monday is Music Day. So Sunday with Father's Day and Monday with Music Day, these two books are perfect reads, I believe. This one written by Nandita Dacuna, illustrated by Nayantara Surendranath and Kanimori A. Now, what is this story about? Well, it's about a young boy called Ayan, whose Baba is waiting and waiting for him to do his riyaz, to do his music practice. And his sister Ruhi, desperately waiting for Ayan to come and do his practice, because should Abba get angry, Baba get angry, their trip to the market is likely to get cancelled. And Ruhi so badly wants to go to the market because Baba has promised to buy her a big blue and orange kite that she saw last time. Now, Ruhi, looking to see Ayan, of course, not bothered about his practice whatsoever, instead cooking in the kitchen because he absolutely loves to cook and loves food. Ruhi rushing around, helping her brother, getting her brother to go sit down and do riyaz so that Baba doesn't get mad. And of course, Ayan, being Ayan, wanders off somewhere to look for earthworms or something instead of sitting and practicing. Now, what happens? Does Ruhi get her kite? What happens? How does Ruhi, ensure that her father doesn't get mad and Ayan doesn't get into trouble? Well, you can see the cover photo up there. Ruhi definitely picking up the sitar and, doing something which you're going to have to read and find out about. It's so beautifully illustrated. And I was delighted to see that this story is indeed possibly, based on the life of Annapurna Devi, born as Roshanara Khan, who was the daughter of one of the most prominent teachers of Indian classical music, Alauddin Khan. She was given the name Annapurna Devi by the Maharaja of Maihar, which is now a part of Madhya Pradesh, where her father was a royal court musician. Such a lovely way to bring alive a sibling bond, a dad-daughter bond, and talk about the love that a family has for each other. And of course, clever Ruhi, what does she do? Not to let her brother down and not to anger her father. I can see Akhila Pyada. How lovely to see you at the show this morning. I really like Madhuri Purandare's Daddy's Mo. And of course, Madhuri Purandare being one of our favorite writers, the book is in our bazaar. Do look at that combo book, Madhuri Purandare's Daddy's Mo and Aunt Jui's Baby. Muttama saying, such a wonderful coincidence. Both Papa and Baba were all about books and music. Both Sham and you are in my life as a result of their guiding light. Love you guys with such fierceness. Love you right back. Ritvika Roy has made a suggestion also of a book that features on the bazaar, and I'm delighted with these interactions. I think going forward, we're going to ask you to guess what books come up in our bazaar. Really, I will come to that one, Ritvika Roy, for sure. The next father and child book, and a book that focuses on music, this beautiful one that we've recommended over and over and over again, Zakir and his Tabla, Dha Din Na, by Sandhya Rao and Priya Kurian, all about the wonderful story of Ustad Zakir Hussain and his very famous father, Ustad Allah Rakha, and how bowls and rhythms and drumming sort of dictate the little boy's life. I just love the beautiful illustrations, the warm illustrations that Priya Kurian has made to this story, this heartwarming story written by Sandhya Rao. And it really, this is the kind of picture book that will certainly have you going da din na on a whole bunch of things that you can find all around you, much like Zakir is doing in this spread, drumming on the chairs, drumming on the tables, drumming on just about the pots and pans in the kitchen. And I think the way Sandhya Rao brings together these beats, weaves them into a story, is just spectacular and special, and really bringing alive the relationship between Ustad Zakir Hussain and his father, Ustad Allah Rakha. I can see Preeti Ramchandran saying, "Oh, we're waiting for this one, da dinna." Absolutely up on our website. Guhan jumping up with joy here with his copy, and hope he's drumming on a whole host of things as well, Preeti Ramchandran. Our next recommendation this morning is a lovely little chapter book that we would recommend for 6+ year olds. And of course, I'm sorry, I completely forgot to tell you the ages. We'd say 6+ for both the music and daddy books. One published by Tulika, priced at 275 rupees, and the other, published by Karadi Tales, priced at 250 rupees. And this one, which I'm moving to, meant for 6+year-olds again, called Aditi Zoo, written by Amrut and Kritika, mummy and daddy to a lovely young girl I know. And this is a story of young Aditi, who's 6 years old. And like most 6-year-olds, she is not just a little girl. She's much, much more than that. She's independent, she's self-confident, she's brave, and she is absolutely a go-getter. Now, Aditi always seems to want to prove herself, and this time and in this story, Aditi's father sets up a wonderful challenge for her. What is that challenge, and will intrepid and amazing Aditi rise to the occasion? Such a lovely, book to describe a father-daughter bond so wonderfully well. This one, like I said, we'd recommend it for, say, 5-6+year-olds. You can see that there's, there are pictures and text in the pages. You have to read this amazing story of Aditi Zoo to find out if Aditi is able to rise to the challenge. And I'm going to show you some pictures that give you an idea of what that challenge might just be. This one published by Miss Muchi, priced at 150 rupees. Our next set of recommendations for you, I'm going to pull these two ones up together. And this has probably, the next one that I'm recommending, got to be my most favorite daddy book in recent times. The marvelous Jerry Pinto's My Daddy and the Well. And, even at the risk of sounding somewhat biased, I think this has got to be one of the nicest hook books ever. This is written by Jerry Pinto and illustrated by Lavanya Naidu. So beautifully, blending text and illustration to tell a fantastic story that a child as young as 5 or an adult as old as 50, 60, 80 even will enjoy so thoroughly. What is the story about? It's the story of a little boy talking about his daddy as a boy, and when his dad, Moira is in Goa, and many people seem to feel that it gets its name from the Maurya dynasty, and they say it was named after the peacock. I can see Rudra Nair saying, good morning, Rudra. So lovely to see you at our bazaar. And this little village is where daddy, is playing football with his friends. And what is special about Moira, the bananas of Moira, and the book really wanted me to go very, very quickly and eat the Moira bananas. They are very, very special, and dad's job as a young boy was to water the small banana plants that they had in their garden. Oh my God, the way these illustrations. So what did dad do? Well, we recommend, some caution in this, but it's just so much fun. Dad used to jump into this well to get the bucket to fly out of the well like that and water that wonderful field of bananas. I mean, the wonderful little Moira banana orchard that they have. And my God, years later, when dad and son go back to visit Moira, the bananas are there, the pump is there, the village is there, daddy is there. What happens really? Such a wonderful story, so many layers of meaning to it as well. I mean, the young reader might get some of those meanings, might just enjoy a lovely story of a daddy jumping into a well to water the bananas in his garden. But us adults who'd read it, and maybe some children who would also get the context of the loss, the sense of loss of a place that has probably changed over time. Joanne Saldana saying, My Daddy and the Well, it's mine too. Just a wonderful book full of love and precious reminiscences. I love books with family storytelling, and I just love this one. Joanne Saldana too, curating lovely collections of books based on different themes, and I'm delighted that some of the ones we're recommending today are on your list, Joanne. Divya Purandar saying, Jerry Pinto is an absolute delight for kids and adults alike. We will definitely pick this up. It's got to come to your house, just like it has got to go like how that bucket of water goes when daddy jumps into the well. It has got to go from our shelf to your house. Definitely, Divya. And Nandita Dukuna saying, Daddy and the Well, lovely storytelling and setting. Thank you so much for joining us, Nandita Dukuna. We were just saying when we recommended both your books, Just Like Papa and The Magic in My Fingers, saying that you've got a thing for daddies, perhaps, and maybe some lovely stories with your own daddy, which has resulted in these wonderful, wonderful books. My Daddy and the Well, the part of Duckbill's fantastic Hook book series, highly recommended read for 5+-year-olds and everybody else above that age, priced at 175 rupees. And available at special discounted prices if you use the discount coupon. There was just another book exactly in the same theme from Pratham, and that's why we put these two ones together. This one called Then and Now, written and translated by S.R. Ramakrishna and illustrated by Tanvi Bhatt. I can see Nandita Dukuna saying, Daddy's girl, always Vidya. I echo those sentiments exactly, Nandita Dukuna. Daddy's girls, gosh, I think we have so much wind beneath our wings thanks to our daddies, really. Now, this one, Then and Now, written and illustrated by S.R. Ramakrishna and illustrated by the lovely Tanvi Bhatt. Also a story of Then and Now. It's about it's about a little boy called Chiltari, and his appa tells him a story of the city and of his childhood. And then what happens? The father and son decide to step out of the after the storytelling is done. Chiltari and his sister Putti listening to the stories about the street, about the city, the way the dad at the time that the dad was younger, the sights and sounds of the city as well. And then they step out and then they go for a walk, and what happens? Again, a lovely past meets present kind of book. And, I think it's been translated from Tamil, or translated from Kannada. It says Andu Indu in Kannada, written by S.R. Ramakrishna himself and translated into English by him, illustrated by Tanvi Bhatt. This one priced at 50 rupees, published by Pratham, again recommending it for 6+-year-olds. Muttama saying, would definitely recommend the Myth Auntie blog from Joanne Stable. Most definitely, yes. Joanne Saldana reviewing books as Myth Auntie and recommending books as Myth Auntie. Absolutely a go-to blog. And I'm sure she's got some lovely Father's Day recommendations lined up tomorrow, which we are also eagerly going to read up on and bring those books into Funky Rainbow. Of course, I've got to now show you the book that Ritvika Roy so rightly pointed out right at the beginning. One of my favorite whole books, The Clockwala's Clues, written by Varsha Seshan and illustrated by Suvidha Mistry. What a lovely, lovely, whole book it is. I mean, amongst the recent clutch, such a charming one about Jasmine and Sheba, who want to spend their summer holidays finding homes for stray puppies in where they've gone visiting in Pune. Now, what do they have to do to get this done? Because Sheba's father, who is the clockwala uncle of the story, says, yes, you can do that. You can spend your summer holidays finding homes for strays only if you solve a series of puzzles that I have set for you. And there are time bound puzzles. Oh, what a delightful father Clockwala is, really. And the book recreating the sense of excitement that the kids go through to solve Clockwala uncle's puzzles, and also recreating the charm of Pune. In fact, I did mention this to Varsha when she was in touch with us once. Her descriptions of Tippu Gully, wanting us to go and visit right away. And of course, hoping that we will also stumble upon a clockwala, exactly like there's a clockwala in the book, who will give us a series of riddles to solve. What a lovely father, and what a lovely relationship outlined in the book, while being a fun story about kids racing against time to solve a set of puzzles. We'd recommend this for 7+ year olds, but the age groups that we put down, they're always, it depends. You are better judges of what work for your children. This one priced at 175 rupees and published by Duckbill. Let me just say a quick round of hellos to a whole bunch of you who've joined us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And there's Joanne Saldana, there's Tamanna, there's Muttamma, there's Divya Menon, Avyukta Nameya Nair, Prerna Agarwal, Ritvika Roy, Rupa Baliga. Thank you. So many supporters. Book Pickle, This, That, and the Other, Chanda Storyteller, Kavita Kanmani. How lovely to see you, Kavita, at the bazaar. Vinita Stories, Pandya Bhishesh, Satya Srujan Reddy, Mirunalini, Swati, Matjal 72, Mansi Tamhane, Prisha Bora, Anjani Rajagopal, Sunila Kulkarni Gupte, Preeti Ramchandran, so many of you watching us on at the Father's Day Bazaar, Mumtaz Parveen, Divya Purandar, Nilima Sinha, what a pleasure to have you at the bazaar, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Balambika Krishna Kumar, Munmun Mitra Das, Rubal Gulati, Isha Prasad, Simzoni, Akhila Pyada, Nandini Nair, Bujils, My Identity, Nomita, Anushri, Rudra Nair, and Nandita Dukuna. Thank you so much for all, to all of you for joining us at this Father's Day Bazaar and making it so much more exciting for Team Funky Rainbow. I'll continue with a clutch of more recommendations before we have a delightful daddy and son duo joining us a little later on the show to regale you with some daddy stories, which I hope you will absolutely enjoy. Our next set of recommendations before our guests come in, and our guests are coming in at 12:30 today. So we do have another 15-20 minutes of recommendations that we can that we can make for you before our guests of the day join us, because one guest has to come here to tell the story while I have to go back and manage all the tech out there. So if there are any glitches later, please remember, I'm going to ask our guest to come back and set it right in the course, even if it's in the course of the storytelling. Well, the next set of recommendations, an author whom we absolutely enjoy reading at Funky Rainbow and who we often wish we could be in touch with and see if she could do some sessions for us. Someone whose books we've enjoyed forever and ever, Shamini Flint, with Diary of a Cricket God, Diary of a Soccer Star, and Diary of a Taekwondo Master. Why do we put these books into the Father's Day Bazaar? Because the protagonist of the book, Marcus Atkinson, he just loves and is determined to try sport of different kinds. And you know what, even if he's not that good at it, or at least he believes he's not that good at it, we just love his father, who believes that Marcus Atkinson is just the best in the world. Oh gosh, I mean, what fathers can do simply by believing in their children. I'm sure all of you will agree that that jadoo, is simply special. And these lovely diaries, which are done in, lovely comic book format, funny, laugh out loud comic book format, and in this one, dad is determined that Marcus Atkinson is going to become a cricketer, and off he sends him to cricket lessons, and so that he can learn what a silly point is all about, what a googly is all about, and just so that he can hit a sixer off the last ball of a cricket match. How many of you remember that, right? Like Javed Miandad hitting that six off Chetan Sharma. It's such a special memory of my own childhood, watching that cricket match with my father, of course. Laugh out loud antics in cricket Diary of a Cricket God. Same with Soccer Star. Even if Marcus Atkinson is not sure he can play soccer, dad believes Marcus has magic on his feet. And I mean, kids over the age of, maybe 8 years going to simply chuckle reading these wonderful diaries created, both written and illustrated by Shamini Flint. And in this one, dad believing that Marcus's kicks are just the best of the best of the best. You have to pick up these enjoyable diaries and read them with your children. Dads and kids would be a lovely combination. Each one priced at 125 rupees and available at special discounts at the Father's Day Bazaar. We'll move into a couple of other recommendations as well. We have Pops by Balaji Venkatramanan, which is, and look at the cover of the book, which is, the cover and the illustrations in the book done by Twiggy. And there are these lovely illustrations on the margins telling the story of a young 7-year-old boy called Arun. Now, what is Arun's story? Well, Arun's father is Venkatesh, and Arun begins the story telling us about how his dad is very good, how his dad buys him chocolates, how his dad never gets mad at him, and how his dad buys him a lot of toys. And I can see Ritvika Roy saying, I was just going to write about Pops. Hooray, I think we're going to have to try and make this a regular feature of every bazaar, asking you to guess what's going to come up without checking our website, of course. So, and there is the story of Arun believing that his father absolutely loves him. But you know what? That's just a big bluff. Arun's never met his dad. He has only seen his photograph in his parents' wedding album. And in reality, he absolutely doesn't like him because his mother and father are separated. Then, of course, there is this situation where they need to go to the court because there is the court needs to decide on the custody for Arun, and that's when Arun actually meets his father for the first time. And you know what? While everybody has been saying that he's not such a great guy, Arun suddenly finds in the course of his interactions with his father that his dad is not so bad after all. And, he's scared, he's angry, but, he really does discover that, maybe his Pops is not so bad after all. What happens in the story? You have got to read this wonderful story set in such a realistic situation, and I know many children go through this. Many children have to live in houses, live with two parents in two separate houses, and this one bringing alive that and a father and a newly minted father-son bond out very well. I can see Pushpa Negi saying, wow, looking at your books feels like going back into childhood to read and enjoy them. Absolutely. You're never too old to pick up a children's book, Pushpa Negi. So order away the ones that you feel you enjoyed. Do pick them up from Funky Rainbow. Our next clutch of recommendations, and these are what I know Divya Purandar mentioned, and Ruskin Bond's fabulous quartet. And I don't know, Divya, if you know that there are 4 books in the series right now. Oh my God. And I know I've said this to Muttama so often that, I'm not so given to sentiment, but this one, Looking for the Rainbow, literally brought a tear or 3 to my eyes and, a lump in my throat. It's the beautiful story of Ruskin Bond. He's recounting the story of when he was a young boy of 8, having, getting away from boarding school, which he absolutely hated, and to go and live with his father in Delhi. And his time with his father, it's spent with it's filled with cinema, music, walks, nature walks, and books. And of course, this wonderful time turning tragic sometime later. But you will, I'm sure many of you have guessed why. We know he lost his father. Ruskin Bond loses his father, but so beautifully, with the kind of poignance that only Bond can conjure up with his magical words, bringing alive the memories of that year spent with his father. It's really full of so much tenderness and a little bit of sadness. And I can see Divya Purandar saying Abhay was inconsolable after he finished the book. Really, the power of words and the magic of Mr. Bond's writing, you just have to read it to know how that is. I can see Vijay Lakshmi Nagaraj joining us. Hi, Team FR. What a beautiful theme, bringing back memories of our daddies. Incidentally, on this day, 6 years ago, he left us. Oh, Vijay, your father's never left you. He's there with you right through. That's why his light shines through you, definitely. Cheers to all daddies. What lovely books you have on this theme. And Vijay again saying a fabulous story of father and son, Ruskin Bond weaving his magic. All the controversial aspects of the series aside, Astrid Lindgren's Pippi Longstocking books too have a warm father-daughter dynamic. Indeed, yes, leaving the controversial bits out, outlining a glorious relationship between Pippi and her daddy. Now, the 4 books in the series, and they go on to absolutely, talk about Ruskin Bond in each one of these books in the series, with the next one being Till the Clouds Roll By. All the illustrations in the series, and they are such beautiful illustrations indeed. I'm sorry, I completely forgot to show them up to you, by Mihir Joglekar, bringing alive an old world charm, just absolutely bringing alive the charm of just spending some hours of uninterrupted pleasure with your father. In this one, in Till the Clouds Roll By, he's writing it a few months after his father's death. He travels to Dehradun to spend his holidays with a new family. And as he reacquaints himself with his mother, who's now remarried and has a busy social life, he gets to meet his stepfather and his siblings. Ruskin Bond longs for his father. Not to say that his stepfather and siblings are cruel or, unkind in any manner, but he certainly longs for his father. And a beautiful anecdote about how an old gramophone, an old stamp collection, keeping alive his father's memories so beautifully, really. Such a charming, book. And if you don't have these, I would recommend all 4 of them. Coming Round the Mountain. This is the 3rd one in the series, in the year of independence. Now, Ruskin Bond is 13 in the series and is back at school doing what he loves, reading, goalkeeping, spending time with friends, and eating lots and lots of jalebis. And it's just remarkable how something that you do at 13 is going to, is something that you continue to do at 87. Mr. Ruskin Bond celebrated his 87th birthday just a couple of weeks ago. And I watched a live conversation with him where he promptly says that he loves spending his time reading, writing, and eating jalebis. And I was just thinking, in this book, which is all about the whispers of partition in the corridors of the school, and about friends perhaps having to get parted in some ways, what happens, how do children cope with it, and how does a memory of his father help him go through what is tough about go through a dramatic period in his life when his life is absolutely going to change. And this one, A Song of India, absolutely the fourth one in the series, where he's 16 after finally having finished his school, living with his stepfather and his mother in Dehradun, about him making that passage to England, to pursue a career there, to do some studies and his career over there, but from England, longing for India and knowing that he's going to be back here definitely very, very soon. This one truly celebrates 70 years of the writer on the hill, and we all know who that writer on the hill is. I think this is a must have in every household, every home library, every school library as well. I could, see Muttama saying it's reading day or World Reading Day today. My gosh, do we need even one reading day, Muttama? It's reading day at Funky Rainbow every single day. But my gosh, how many days colliding into one? Thank you for telling me that it is World Reading Day. Pushpa Negi saying Ruskin Bond stories revolve around the nature, especially in Uttarakhand. I met him there and I love his stories. Oh, how lucky you are to have that splendid memory and that opportunity to meet Ruskin Bond, Pushpa Negi. We will, of course, get on to a clutch of more books before we call our guests or show you a couple of our new arrivals. And, in the bazaar, we've got a whole bunch of books, and you may wonder why we have some of these books up there. But I was so surprised to discover how many books we have in our collection, and I think Sham doesn't have the covers of these ones, but of fathers gone missing and children looking for them, and how that quest changes their lives in so many ways. There's Leela Gaur Broom's Flute in the Forest, where there's 13-year-old Atiya who lives with her father, a forest officer. And she is afflicted by polio herself, and how her father and her, what do they do, how do they spend their days, and how she actually does some things against her father's wishes, and how it opens up a wonderful world of possibilities for her. When Santa Went Missing by Parinita Shetty, where all the protagonist of the book, 11-year-old Noel, wants is to have a normal life. But my gosh, how can you have a normal life if your father is Santa Claus? And while Noel is trying to cope with his dysfunctional family, suddenly his father disappears, and what happens? And just look at the number of contexts in which disappearing fathers have made so many stories possible. There's Chitra Divakaruni Banerjee's only children's book called Victory Song, which is absolutely set in the time of the freedom struggle. It is 1939, and the freedom fighters will not stop at anything till they send the British send the British back and win freedom for India. What happens to 12-year-old Neela? Well, she lives in a little village, but she has to come to Calcutta on a mission. Her father has been jailed, and she doesn't know where he is. He's been jailed because he was part of a protest march, and Neela has to rescue him before he goes off before he's deported to the Andaman's Island. Look at the things that, missing fathers make young people do. This one too, again, a real favorite, and perhaps one of the only Western ones in our collection, Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time. Such a beautiful book also about Charles and Meg and their friend Calvin, who have to travel through a wrinkle in time to beat some evil forces and find Charles and Meg's father. This dangerous journey taking them through time and space, all in search of a missing father. This one, again, like I said, a missing father. I can see Pushpa Negi saying, would like to have some books from your collection for sure. Oh, you must. We have tons and tons of books based on different themes. Pushpa Negi, you can simply just look at that tab called BUZZAAR on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. And the drop down menu will give you so many thematic recommendations of books. Just look through them and tell us which ones you want. My final one on missing fathers, a young adult. All the other ones that we recommend would work for 10 to 13-year-olds. This one is a young adult book by Suchitra Krishnamurthy, the singer Suchitra Krishnamurthy. And this is part of a series that she created called Swapnalok Society. We would recommend this one for 13-plus-year-olds. It's about a 12-year-old girl called, Chitrangana, who also, who loves living in Swapnalok Society in Mumbai and wants to do all kinds of normal things that a 13-year-old girl wants to do. She wants to style her hair, she wants to bake a cake, she wants to become a decorator, and wants to, not just decorate houses, also decorate bathrooms, incidentally. And suddenly, as the story progresses, you realize so many more layers and how it is just the story of a girl's quest for her father. It's the first one in the Summer of Cool series, and I believe there's one more that Suchitra Krishnamurthy has written in that series. These were just missing fathers, and some fathers gone missing in some contexts. And I know we have Just a Train Ride Away as well by Mini Srinivasan, which is the story of a boy getting on a train journey in quest and eagerness to meet his father. He gets on a train journey, starts off in Mumbai and, going to Calcutta to meet his estranged father. I can see Ritvika making a lovely suggestion. Sayantani Das Gupta's Kiranmala and the Kingdom Beyond has such a layered father and child relationship. How very wonderful. We have to try and source the book into our collection. If they are published abroad, then sometimes it's quite hard to find Indian distributors who will give us these books. But I'm certainly going to check this one out, Ritvika. Going to run past just 2-3 more recommendations. A book of non-fiction for all the lovers of non-fiction. Sachin Tendulkar's biography, Chase Your Dreams. It's an autobiography, Chase Your Dreams. And this is the young readers edition. And why we've put it up is like simply the first chapter, the first pages begin with him saying, "My father set me free at the age of 11 when he told me, chase your dreams, but make sure you don't find shortcuts to them." Obviously, the man never took any shortcuts. And in a career spanning 24 years, there was not a single cricketing record that possibly eluded the wonderful Sachin Tendulkar. Of course, this one, his biography, he talks about growing up in a middle-class family in Mumbai, about him being quite a mischievous boy and how his father absolutely encouraged him to chase his dreams. We would recommend this for 10, 11 plus year olds because you will understand how much parents can do to make a child's dreams and imagination take flight. Tulika saying, Rudra saying, all these books are scary. I cannot think of my Acha going missing. Yes, me too. I can't think of my Appa going missing at all. Lovely thing is Acha or Appa's going missing. Make sure, spur the children on to fantastic adventures to find them. Ritvika saying Scholastic publishes the books and Scholastic India should absolutely publish Indian editions of the Kingdom Beyond books. Maybe if we collectively petition, absolutely ready to do it. We do know some people at Scholastic, so let's get around to writing to them and getting them to do this. We're going to, I'm going to recommend 2 books from a series that we've recommended so often at Funky Rainbow, the Teenage Diary series, and we love all the books in them. But I've picked these 2, Razia Sultan, the Teenage Diary of Razia Sultan by Anita Murthy, and the Teenage Diary of Noor Jahan or Meherunnisa by Deepa Agarwal, simply because these diaries tell us so much about the relationship between the daddies and their daughters. And all the daddies, and both the daddies in this case, are kings. Now, for Razia Sultan, who was born to Iltutmish of the slave dynasty, she was groomed right from a very young age by none other than her own father to learn all the skills of ruling a kingdom. So she was, grew up to be a brave, strong, confident, young lady, and very much unlike many women of those times. And in that diary, when she's writing in this fictional diary, Anita Murthy, describing those, how of a girl coming of age in her father's court, and how she finds out that being rebellious is absolutely not easy. She has to bear the taunts of her stepmother. She has to, with all the Chinese whispers of the nobles in the court, but she remains resolute and she remains brave. And several times in the diary saying that this is because of one person in her life, her beloved father, Sultan Iltutmish. So I think it's a lovely dad-daughter bond in this book. We would recommend this for 12, 13 plus year olds, published by Speaking Tiger, priced at 299 rupees. Noor Jahan too, Meherunnisa, she too talks about Emperor Jahangir, her father. She is talking about how he helps her. How does he make so many, dreams possible for the young Meherunnisa? How, her love, let's say her love for reading, her love for poetry, her love for writing, all encouraged, by her father, and encouraged completely to follow her dreams, much like her father. And did he encourage her only to read, write, and do more, follow many of these womanly pursuits? Not at all. He absolutely encourages her to understand the dynamics of ruling, the dynamics of the kingdom, and really bringing alive the splendor of the Mughal court so wonderfully. Deepa Agarwal does a fabulous job of telling the life of Noor Jahan, Emperor Jahangir's wife, but also as the teenage diary of a father and daughter. I mean, it's not entirely about the father-daughter bond, and Razia focuses much more on the father-daughter bond. But in this one too, you will know that a young woman's dreams have taken flight because of the encouragement given by her father. I think we're almost out of time, and we must shoot. Sorry, I didn't see the question. Vidya, do you suggest Sachin as a biography for my teen daughter, 18 years, as she's passionate about her swimming sport? If she loves cricket, it's a wonderful autobiography to read. Oh, it says 16. I'm sorry, I saw it as 18 on the screen. The thing is, if she loves sport, this book really brings alive what it takes to succeed in sport, and that it's made up of failures and successes. I mean, it's not easy to get to the top of what you have to do, and what helps you get to the top of any sport is consistency, is the ability to make a lot of sacrifices, and the ability to persevere and get to your goals. And it's not easy. You need to do it every day. So whether the sport is swimming or the sport is cricket, it's certainly one that I think your daughter might enjoy, Pushpa. I'll close with a set of difficult fathers. Do we believe that all fathers are perfect and all fathers, can do no wrong, and, or all father-children relationships are beautiful? Maybe not. Life is, full of ups and downs, and sometimes relationships are up and down as well. And we have a clutch of books for young adults, which we would recommend for 13 plus year olds, that I would like to share with you, because they focus on relationships between the child and the father. There's Wanting More by Ruxana Khan, from Duckbill's Not Our War series. And it's about a girl called Jamila, whose mother dies and she is left alone with her rather distant and moody father. We don't, I mean, maybe the loss of his wife has made him quite distant and moody. And you know what the father does? One fine day, he just decides that they're going to leave this little village and go away, this little village that they live in, and go away to the big city of Kabul, and make their lives there. How Jamila really struggles to deal with a strange culture, unfamiliar people, a new territory, and what kind of territory is that really? A war-ravaged city of Kabul. What of her relationship with her father? Is it an easy, supportive kind of relationship? Well, the dad's dealing with his demons too. And I think we need more and more books that show us life as it really is. I mean, everything in the world is not a fairy tale world. When you have wonderfully supportive fathers, we know how much of a change it can make to our lives. But what if you don't? You still have to go through life and you still have to make peace with it. And some of these books, showcasing such relationships so wonderfully and so realistically. I can see Ramendra Kumar had come in saying Balaji's Pops is a delightful read. And we have to say hello to someone whom we know as a fantastic writer, but even more as a wonderful daughter, giving so many wings to his children's dreams. Absolutely a pleasure to welcome you at our Father's Day Bazaar, Ramin. We know that you've done so much to encourage your daughter and son to do exactly what their heart pleases. Harshika Udasi saying, wanting more gave me goosebumps right at the onset. I'm going to show you another difficult dad-daughter relationship book, which is When She Went Away by Andalib Wajid, which is, just begins again, the kind of book that absolutely pulls you right in from the first line, because it begins saying, with the mother putting a note up on the sticker saying, leaving you and the kids, Khuda Hafiz. That was the post-it note on the refrigerator of Maria's house. And Maria is absolutely stunned that her mother has left her father and her and gone away, and she just doesn't know where. Will their lives ever come back to normal? Maria wants to go and bring her mother back, and her grandmother comes to live with her. And here too, the father being moody, sullen, difficult, he too is going through a tough time in his life because for some reason the relationship between him and his wife has not worked out. What we love about Andalib Wajid's book is that it makes no excuses for the woman walking out of a relationship. We don't know why. It's for us, all of us readers, to imagine why that may have happened. And what is lovely is how Maria realizes that her Ammi is actually a very, very loving person, and why she walks away from this house. And also turning the spotlight on single parenting with this young adult book. This one priced at 450 rupees, published by Duckbill. Two more very quickly. Unbroken, and I'm not sure Sham has this up on his stream. The winner of the Hindu Young World Good Books Award for 2018, a fantastic young adult novel about this young girl on the cusp of life, who is going with her father somewhere and ends up meeting with an accident. And what happens is that the accident cripples her for life. I can see a couple of comments coming up, and I know there are several of them. Harshika saying, Pops is our reader at Akshara High this year. Ramin, I too love how Balaji has treated the father-child relationship. Indeed. And I think Andalib has joined us on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us, Andalib. We just love your books, especially When She Went Away. And I know in our new arrivals, Mirror Mirror has just come to us a couple of days ago. We thank you so much for joining us at what is a particularly difficult time for you, but even more than that, for writing these wonderfully realistic books for our young adults. And Harshika says, when we read when she went away at grade 7 at school, and the children were so moved, so many questions. I can say Ritvika Roy saying, Zainab Suleiman, Simply Nanju, yes, up in our bazaar. I'm afraid so many books that we can't talk about, but all up in our bazaar. If you look at the website www.funkyrainbow.com, click on the tab that says Book Bazaar. The first drop down will be Father's Day. All these books and more up there. Nalini Sorensen, thank you for joining us. You say, I'd read When She Went Away ages ago, and I need to read it again. Indeed, a wonderfully moving book about a child coming to terms with her mother's decision. But to come back to Unbroken, like Ritvika says, a single father, disability, representation, really, it's about this girl who loses her, loses her legs and the ability to use her legs, and then grows so resentful of everyone around her, especially her own family and her father. And she meets with this accident when she's out with her father. And she just decides that her way to deal with this anguish, at the cusp of life, and losing the ability to use your legs, she decides she's just going to be mean and mad as hell. What a wonderful representation of very real feelings that I'm sure all of us go through. What happens in the story? Is it a happy ending? You're going to have to read it to find out. All these difficult stories, difficult relationships between fathers and daughters, and children and families, we recommend for 13-plus-year-olds at Funky Rainbow. And my final one, perhaps one of the most difficult one of them all, and Ansham, you do have this one, is Ranjit Lal's Smitten. It deals with the issue of child sexual abuse, and it's the story of a 15-year-old boy called Samir who has new neighbors. And his new neighbors, there's this lovely young girl called Akila, and he is really happy to make friends with her. She has a younger brother, and to meet these two new people, two new neighbors and friends to play with, makes Samir utterly delighted. And there's of course a lovely doggy as well. I forget the name. It's a boxer dog. I'm not sure I remember the name of the doggy. But Samir, as he gets to know Akila, suddenly realizes that something's not quite right. Her mother is very, very quiet, and her father, who's a stepfather, a little too affectionate with Akila. What happens in the story, and what can Samir do once he finds out some horrifying secrets that tumble out of the Handa family's closet? What happens, and is all well at the end? Really, kudos to Ranjit Lal for dealing with so many difficult issues, for dealing with the difficult issue of child sexual abuse in a book for young adults. And I know I remember in a conversation where he said that he did want to make the character was Akila's father in the story. And because the book came out many decades ago, I think it's at least 15 years old, if I'm not mistaken, or perhaps even older, there was a request from his publishers and editors who felt that maybe a stepfather would lighten the blow a bit. I'm sure that's not valid for these times anymore. And the book, very, very, giving you answers to many difficult questions at the very end, as well as resources that you can reach out to if you know children who are being abused. Like I said, difficult relationships, difficult fathers. And while most of the books we showcased have wonderful fathers, and for all of us who know we can count on the blessings of wonderful fathers, we know how much we have to be thankful for when we read some of these books. I can see Tamanna saying, I remember Papa saying that when he was in Kabul, they never charged him at restaurants because they considered him their brother. How very, very wonderful, Tamanna. And that Kabul, perhaps not the Kabul of Jamila's, story in Wanting More, but yes, we know that every place, every story, there's the good and there is the not so good. Ritvika saying an incredibly important topic, especially considering social taboos on abuse and sexual abuse. Muttama telling me, I remember a kid who asked him in one of our school sessions how he got away with writing on such controversial issues, and Ranjit being Ranjit, absolutely just giving him a very candid and very, very charming answer. We will, of course, get on to the guests of the day right away. And I'm just going to quickly show you 4 or 5 new arrivals on our shelves before we invite the 2 guests of our day to join us today. And these are books that we haven't read yet. They've just come to us, in the last couple of days. There's The Homework by Ashwin Guha and Vaibhav Kumaresh, which is by Karadi Tales, and we feel that this would work for young children, 5+-year-olds. There is Vatsala Loves Snakes by that wonderful duo, Aarti Muthana Singh and Mamta Naini, who have such wonderful books to their credit, and illustrated by Divya George. Also, I believe will work for 6+-year-olds. And you can be sure all these books that we're sharing with you will make their way into some bazaar, in some thematic bazaar for sure. There is this commemorative book, brought out by Penguin. This one I've read, Ruskin Bond, all-time favorites for children. 25 gorgeously illustrated stories from the master storyteller himself. So beautiful, so beautifully produced, this book actually, and bringing, alive all those iconic characters. I mean, right from Rusty and Uncle Ken, the grandmother, Dehradun. This is such a lovely, lovely collection for all Ruskin Bond fans. And this is it says 25 gorgeously illustrated stories from the master storyteller himself. There's Ken Spillman's The Astoundingly True Adventures of Daydreamer Dave, a second book in the series. And in this one, he's going into a volcano. He's going to explore a volcano, the South Pole, and the moon, as the blurb tells me. And of course, Andali Wajid's book, which is what I'm going to read this weekend, the young adult book called Mirror, Mirror, published by Duckbill. And I did see a couple of her posts on it, where it's a story of a young girl called Ananya who starts to hate her body and wants to do different things to become a new person. I can't tell you how eagerly I'm waiting to read this one, Andali. Thank you for writing these books again on very, very relevant themes for us. And with that, I can see Tamanna saying Ranjit Lal is such a fantastic writer. I just love his books. I absolutely concur with you, Tamanna. Ranjit, easily one of our best writers for young adults. And with that, we come back to a happy daddy moment, and we invite our in-house daddy and son duo, the brilliant daddy and son duo of Greystroke, also known as Shyam Madhavan Charada, and the lovely, multi-talented Aaron Shyam Clark, to come up this morning to tell us some daddy stories, to read us some daddy stories like no other. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to put your hands together. This daddy and son duo, easily one of the most funky daddy and son duos I know, and we are delighted that they are coming up here to present one or two charming daddy stories for you. Enjoy them, and I'll see you after the stories are done.
Move.
Yes. You can say.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Greystroke, as you may probably know.
I'm
And
Aaron.
this is I don't know, some guy. So he's Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron and we do a lot of things. There's somebody said Greystroke. Yes, I think he has changed his name now. He's no longer goes by Greystroke. What do you call yourself these days?
I don't know. I changed it multiple times.
Yeah, it changes. Like I think right now he's in one of those anime phases where it's all, oh, press defendo. It's so that's how it goes. So we're happy to be here today as a team. Like we do that every chance we can get, and today, in celebration of the upcoming Father's Day, we thought, oh, there are a lot of people saying, "Yeah, wanna come, and hello, wanna come, and hello." So this Father's Day, I thought we will start we have a couple of stories that we would like to read to you. So let me just start by telling you a little story about my own father. So as Vidya was talking about all the books that we have in our collection today, she also mentioned about how talked about how fathers are the primary reasons why a lot of us have become who we are. So there was this little boy sometime, some probably during the 40s, 1940s, that is, who lived in a village somewhere in the Western Ghats, somewhere in the hills of Kerala. And he was brought up by his grandfather, who used to be a rope maker for elephants. And he used to make these ropes, a special kind of rope with a special bark. And those ropes were humane ropes which didn't hurt the elephants. So from that time to this, like, it's been a long journey of actually books and reading and everything else. So this little boy at that time used to go to school walking 5 kilometers every day to school, and 5 kilometers back, again coming walking. He used to change his one set of clothes that he had, wash them, put them up to dry, and then, because he had to wear them to school the next day. So this journey of his that he undertook at that time, when when nobody else would do it with him, he continued and he finished his schooling, and then he went on to get a government job there too, and moved to far away to a big city where he had 3 kids and made a life for himself. So that man was my father, and he is the reason why I guess I ended up as Grace Stroke, spending time with books, creating them, reading them, telling stories, spending as much time as I can with kids and books. So to my father first, and
Woohoo!
then yay! So now from my father, I go to his father, which is me. So now my father was like, the guy that I looked up to. But you know how kids are these days. It's like, hey, I can do this. My dad like is like, whatever. You know? So for our first story is, a story that celebrates, the not so cool daddies. Okay. So this story is called Slow Daddy, and we begin.
Oh no, that old car's not starting again. I looked at Ma packing my lunchbox.
A car is not the most important thing in life, Tarun. Okay, cut along.
I stuffed my box into the bag angrily. It was important. Your car showed what kind of person you were. My friends' daddies had shiny, smooth, fast cars that zoomed ahead, weaving in and out of traffic like sharp needles. Other people's daddies were speedy daddies, while my daddy was a slow daddy. He walked slowly, he talked slowly, and worst of all, he drove a lumbering tin tortoise.
There
There
comes
comes
the
the
tortoise
tortoise and
and
the
the
Tarun,
Tarun.
like schoolmates teasing me,
Hi, kid.
said Dad with a slow smile. I grunted, pulling on the seatbelt with a jerk. All the way to the school, I thought of red Ferraris that shot across like lightning of racing cars, low, hissing, kissing the road, whizzing to victory. My daddy would never win at anything. In the evening, when I watched the Formula One races on TV, my father would whistle shriek as a sleek speedster hurtled towards the pit dangerously or overtook the one in front by a pin's breadth. It drove me crazy. What does he know about cars or racing? At night, I would go sleeping. At night, I'd go to sleep looking at my collection of imitation cars. I had 100 of them and dream of race tracks. Lewis Hamilton waving to me, only to me. My birthday was 2 days away, and all I wanted was that I should get a faster car or a faster daddy. I woke up late on my birthday. It was a Sunday. I was 9.
Happy birthday, Tarun!
My mother hugged me, handing me a package.
It was your dad's idea, you know.
She said, it was a red racing helmet, the kind professionals wore, only smaller. It was? I asked. It's very cool. Where is he?
Oh, he's cleaning the car. And get ready quickly. He wants to take you out somewhere.
I made a face. But when I saw the look on her face, I knew I'd better listen. After a big, slow hug, Dad got the car, started with the spotters, and off we went. It took a while before the car stopped, and I realized we were at Kart World, in the go karting place. Wow, wow, wow! I shouted excitedly. I couldn't believe it. There were people everywhere, children and men and girls and young trendy women, all ready to go into a go kart and go. The racing track took my breath away. It had awesome turns and twists and a long, smooth stretch for advanced karters.
Are you going to just stand and stare or drive one of those things?
Yes, Dad, that's all I could say. Soon soon I had my helmet on and was given instructions. The younger karters' cars were set at a lower speed and power. We were told about safety, the do's and don'ts, and how to overtake and what colored flags meant. It cost a lot for just 10 minutes. I noticed that while Daddy was paying. Daddy only said,
See how you feel after the first session. Then you can go for another.
then I was on the cart and I was taking off. My right foot on the accelerator and my left foot on the brake. My hands tight but sure on the steering wheel. There was a jerk as I pressed the accelerator, took my left foot off the brake pedal, and the engine revved up. And then I was gone. I was chasing the car before me, slowly, and then I nervously swerved, and I was past it. And then I was chasing the next one, fast this time. And then I was past it, and the next lap, and my hands were a little clammy. Then my hands were light on the steering wheel, and I was chasing no one but the wind, speed, and Hamilton. I was going round and round, fast, and I was a whirlwind, and I was running out of breath. And I was now out of breath, and I had to stop or go flying off the track. Stop. Wow, Dad! Dad was standing with a good looking man, tall and athletic, and in a blue tracksuit.
Have a go, Perry.
He asked Dad, ruffling my hair. I was surprised. Hardly anyone called him Perry, except Ma. Parminder, everyone called him. A slow name. Who was this man? What were they going to have a go at? I couldn't believe my eyes. Daddy was quickly settled in a cart, and so was the other man at the rear. Everyone was calling the other man Sir. Someone whispered, that he was actually a professional racer. Then, with a start and a whir, they were gone. Slow Daddy and Blue Racer, the cars eating the tracks like snappy crocodiles, until cart until the track ran out and they stopped with a screech exactly at the same moment, jumping out of the carts and slapping each other's shoulders like happy kids. I still couldn't believe my eyes, but it was for real. The carts. The man in the blue tracksuit, Slow Daddy, who wasn't a slow daddy, not a slow daddy at all. Daddy came and swung me up.
Had fun, kid?
He asked, his eyes twinkling slowly. Blue Racer pushed an envelope into my hand.
Happy birthday, son.
He said, smiling. Thanks a lot, I said, stuffing it into my pocket, thinking it was a free pizza coupon or something. It was only when I reached home that I opened the envelope. Inside were three invites to the special exhibition of the latest Force India car. All my schoolmates and friends were talking about its speedy style and sporty looks. The entire F1 team was going to be there as well. And I, Tarun, and my ma, and Slow Daddy, the speediest daddy of them all.
Yes, the speediest daddy of them all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's one of those like wow daddies, and some comments of cute son. Sorry,
Dad, son, you.
dad son. Oh yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Dad son. Child is the father of man and all that. It's okay.
Is rocking it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the compliments. So now from the slow daddy and the
No comment.
I can see one more super narration, great story, and cool fast sound effect. Of course, of course. We go all out. So, and from that, like slow daddy who was actually a speedy daddy, we go to some other kinds of daddies. And I have for you one more story that I'm going to read to you, which and there, that's how it works. So now I have the place to myself, and two chairs to sit on, whatever. So this story is about a clever daddy, and how clever is this daddy comes from this book called The Magic Powder from Pratham. I wrote this some time back, and it was illustrated by the wonderful award-winning illustrator PG Dinesh. And he took great pains to illustrate it by looking at references from the place that this folktale is set at. And this story comes from Myanmar. So here goes. Once upon a time, in a little village on the banks of the Irrawaddy River, there lived a young woman called Tuza. She was very happily married to young Thingy. But there was one problem that nagged Tuza. Her husband believed he was an alchemist and would spend all his time dreaming about ways to turn dirt into gold. All day, and for days on end, Thingy spent his time in experiments, searching for a breakthrough. You know how that works? And pretty much like how these startups do these days. It's going to come just around the corner next week. Just give me 10 days in 1 week. Exactly like that. Soon, all their money was over, and young Tuza had to struggle to buy food for the two of them. She became very worried, obviously. Anyone in the startup environment should know that. You should find a job soon, she pleaded with her husband. We cannot continue like this. But Thingy wouldn't listen. I'm on the verge of a breakthrough. Why do I have to work when we can be rich beyond our wildest dreams? You will soon be able to turn all this dirt into pure gold. Disheartened, Tuza approached her father, wise old Thet, for a solution. Thet was surprised when he heard that his son-in-law was an alchemist. He thought for a while, and he asked to see Thingy. Tuza returned home happily that day, for she knew her wise father would have a solution. The next day, Thengi arrived at his father-in-law's house, fully prepared to get a scolding. He was taken by surprise when Ted took him aside and whispered, "You know, when I was young like you, I was an alchemist too." The two of them spent the whole afternoon discussing Thengi's work. Finally, the old man stood up and said, "Why, Thengi, you've done exactly like I did when I was your age. You're definitely on the verge of a breakthrough. Congratulations. But you seem to be lacking one very important ingredient in your experiments. You will need this finally when you turn dirt into gold. Only recently did I discover this. But I'm too old for this task. It requires enormous effort." Then let me do it for you, father, cried Thengi. He was really excited. All his efforts would pay off at last. "Tell me what the ingredient is." "Good, you're excited," said Ted. He leaned closer and whispered, "Son, the secret ingredient is a silver powder that is found only on banana leaves. You will have to plant the bananas yourself and cast certain spells on them. Then, as the plants grow, the powder on the leaves will gain magical powers." "So, how much of this powder will we need, father?" asked Tengi excitedly. "A kilo," said Ted. "A kilo," said Tengi. "That would require hundreds of banana plants." "I'm afraid so, son," said the old man. "That is why I can't complete this task myself. Hannah, don't lose heart, father," said Tengi. "I shall." Later that evening, the old man taught his son-in-law the magic spells and loaned him the money to start the work. The very next day, Tengi bought a small field near his home and cleared it. Just as he had been instructed, he dug the ground himself and planted the saplings after carefully chanting the magic spells. One more spell. Spells, and spells. Every day he went to the field and examined the saplings. He kept the weeds and the pests away diligently. When the plants grew and bore fruit, he carefully collected the silver powder from the leaves and kept it safely in a box. I don't know if you have seen the silver powder from that comes on banana leaves. It's along the edge, and it takes a lot of the scraping even to find a little bit, like this much, and a kilo, which means that's quite a lot of bananas and quite a lot of scraping. So there was hardly any powder on each leaf. So Tengi had to buy some more land and grow more bananas. But he was determined to do what he needed. So it took him several years, but at the end of it all, he managed to collect enough of the magic powder. He rushed to his father-in-law, excited as never before. He would soon be able to make gold from mere dirt. "Father, finally! Here's the kilo of magic powder," he cried. The old man spilled his joy. "Wonderful," he said. "Wonderful. You have done well, Thengi. I'm proud of you. But now I will show you how to turn dirt into gold. But first, let's get Tuza. We need her help." Thengi was a little puzzled, but without losing any time, he ran to his wife and was soon back with her. "Tuza," asked the old man, "what did you do with the bananas when your husband was collecting the powder?" "Why, I sold them, father," replied Tuza. "That's how we earned a living." "Then you must have been able to save some money too, huh? Think you grew more than enough bananas?" the old man continued. "Yes, I did," replied Tuza. "Can we see it?" asked Ted. "Of course, I have kept it safely at home," beamed Tuza. The three of them went to Thengi's house, where Tuza produced several bags from the loft where she had kept them safely. He'd opened one of the bags, peered inside, and smiled. Gold. Then he emptied one of the bags on the table. Gold coins tinkled as they fell in a huge, shiny heap. Gold coins, nothing less. Then he went to the field and came back with a handful of dirt, which he placed next to the heap of gold. You see, Thengi, he said, turning to his son-in-law, you have changed dirt to gold. Never after that day did Thengi collect any more magic powder from the leaves, but he continued to grow bananas. His alchemist father-in-law had taught him the best way to turn dirt into gold after all. He didn't need the magic powder anymore. So that's the story of the magic powder. Thank you. I hope you liked it.
Yeah, and we're done. We'll just say hello to her. And that was the lovely, storytelling session from the dad and the delightful dad and son duo. And I have to say, I think they forgot to mention it. This wonderful story that Aaron Sham Clark narrated called Slow Daddy from a magazine that we brought out many, many years ago, called Hoot and Toot. And my story was published in Hoot, written by none other than the editor of Hachette India Today, Vatsala Kaul Banerjee, the children's editor of Hachette India, who wrote this wonderful story called Slow Daddy. And of course, you can see we've had them printed out for you, from the magazine pages. This was the fantastic Slow Daddy story that Aaron Sham Clark narrated. Of course, this one, The Magic Powder, as Sham showed you, written by him and illustrated by PG Dinesh and published by Pratham. I can see lots of wonderful compliments. Sushma Sachadev saying, slow daddy to speedy daddy. Loved your narration, Aaron. Loved my daughter too. Loved it very much. Annapurna Das saying, awesome. Asha Nemaya saying, super story. Shruti saying, such a treat to see you narrate these wonderful stories. Tulika Pillai saying, or Rudra rather saying, lovely story. Thank you. Sushma Sachdev, chanting spell and action is super. Asha Nehmaya saying, nifty camera work only for 20 minutes, Asha. I'm not sure I'd have been able to sustain it beyond that. Ramendra Kumar saying, lovely storytelling by Aaron and Sham. Ye dil mange mo. Absolutely. Ye dil mange, ye dad or beta ka combo. Slow Daddy is such a great story. It is. And Vatsala Kaul, who doesn't write that many stories anymore, we keep telling her that she should just continue to write these spectacular stories for our young readers. Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj saying, thank you, I love the story. Grace Stroke and Aaron, super team. And Sunila Kulkarni saying, super story and great narration. I'm just going to say hello to a whole bunch of other friends before we say bye-bye to you. But do consider picking up some of the books that we've recommended to you. If you've enjoyed them, do consider picking them up from our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Click the tab that says Book Bazaar. The drop-down menu, the first line on the drop-down menu will be Father's Day. All the books that we recommended and all that we couldn't recommend up there in the Father's Day Bazaar. Do use the discount voucher if you enjoyed them, because I think there's no better way to spend this weekend than to maybe read with your dad. Hellos to Rinku Gupta, Pushpa Negi, Satish Sundaram. What a pleasure. Dabble Play Art. How lovely you've joined us. Tickling Tale, Textile Adventure, Vijay Lakshmi Nagaraj, Balaji Venkatramanan. So delighted you've joined us. Art Beat, Aarti and Mamta, whose book we also have in the bazaar. Naveen Menon, Vidhi Bhargava, Andali Wajid, Smita Indira, Tarab Khan, Asha Rakesh, Shruti Sri Raghunath, Tangam Talkies, Ramendra Kumar, Harshika Udasi, Dipali Taneja, Gopal Krishna K, Nalini Sorensen, Crafty Umami, Champaka Books, Just Telling My Tale, Champaka Books, big shout out going to another lovely independent bookstore in Bangalore. So delighted that you've taken the time to be at our bazaar. Indie booksellers are, ye dil mange mo always. Majja Girl, Asha Nehmaya, Reshma, Joy of Drama, and Vaishali Chakravarti, Sushma Sachidev, Anam Fatima, Stories from Stones, Eureka Children's Books, Shiba Abidi, Annapurna Das, Arzu Kaveri Sen, and Vaishali writes. What a pleasure that all of you were with us right through this bazaar. I can see Prerna Agarwal saying, thank you for that lovely story and thank you for another great bazaar. Have a wonderful weekend. Spend it with your dads, reading if you can, but playing and just having a great time together, because daddies are our best friends any and every way. Bye bye, and we'll see you next week.